DarKoaster. This new for 2023 coaster easily has the longest line at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, between its family appeal and relatively low capacity. So is it really worth the wait? Find out in this review. In the 1990s, this plot of land was home to Wild Mouse, or Wild Izzy in its first year. The wild mouse that was relocated to Busch Gardens Tampa Bay as Cheetah Chase and then Sand Serpent. In 2005, Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened Cursive DarKastle, an impressive dark ride that offered a nice change of pace. But as there are just few dark rides across the SeaWorld chain, this ride closed in 2017, citing high operating costs compared to rider demand. Though this closure was initially seen just as temporary, so the empty castle sitting there really stung to those attending Busch Gardens Williamsburg. In 2023, 6 years later, the park decided to use the space for more than just seasonal haunts and added a family straddle coaster inside the castle. Investment in coasters for families is needed with most parks, and the indoor nature of this ride allows it to run in inclement weather, which is particularly likely during the winter months. The trains pay homage to the history of this site, with one reading Wild Wolf 9684 for Wild Mouse and the original Big Bad Wolf, opening in 1996 and 1984 respectively. The other reads Frostbite 1719, which refers to the first haunted house that was in the building from 2017 to 2019. If you're wondering just how long the queue will take, if it is outside of the building, you're looking at an hour-and-a-half wait. This seems to be slightly longer because people will keep passing you with Quick Queue. I'm not sure how there were a decent amount of people using Quick Queue, as it is only available as either a single shot for $20-some, which is well worth considering really, or as a single shot on the highest Quick Queue tier. Once you go through the switchbacks in the large building, you will have about 45 minutes, as the smaller rooms just take so much time to get through. The issue comes from each train only having capacity for 10 riders. This seems like a decent amount when you're in the station itself, but especially with Quick Queue means that the standby line will crawl, even with trains being dispatched every 2 minutes or so. I really do wish that they would have kept the pre-show in the pre-show room, as now you're just kind of stuck in there, and with the long line, this would have always been needed for this coaster, even on a slow day. If I'm going to be stuck in this room for like 10 minutes, just give me a cool video to watch. I got 2 quick rides on this coaster while doing the Coaster Insider Tour. If DarKoaster is included, then that tour is probably well worth considering, though you do lose your rope drop on rides like Pantheon. However, the park seems to prefer Verbolten for that tour, so likely you won't get the behind-the-scenes access to DarKoaster like I did. Between the Coaster Insider Tour and rope dropping Pantheon, I didn't try rope dropping this, but I would highly suggest coming here first, as the line will easily get to over an hour quicker than any other coaster in the park, including the new Big Bad Wolf, which only had about a 20-minute wait when I got to it about an hour after the park opened. After waiting through a long line, you finally get to face the storm. The story of the original Curse of DarKastle was that Prince Ludwig had become an evil ruler and eventually became king after his parents mysteriously disappeared. And you were chased through the castle by this evil ruler who was able to transform into a werewolf. But then he threw a winter party, showing guests around in sleighs. But in the morning, the castle was empty. DarKoaster takes place years later when people come to investigate the castle and why a strong winter storm still rages around it. As guests, you ride on snowmobiles into the storm to see what supernatural forces await. By the evil King Ludwig, this time around. After leaving the station, with a small turn right, you go down a straightaway that gives you a small boost. With the short overall height of this coaster, as it was built to fit in a pre-existing building, you don't get a lot of speed here, but it is really cool blasting past the various decorations. Then you enter the heart of the coaster. With near darkness and a good sense of speed, it is hard to see what exactly you are passing. The tight turns, though, make the forces on this coaster incredible, as most elements play really well. You take a turn to the left, followed by a small hill to give the train a little bit of airtime forces while entering the main area. You have a small bunny hill that doesn't really offer any airtime, but more just gives character like you'd find on a kiddie coaster, but on a much larger scale. Next, you have a tight bank turn that really throws you a bit sideways before a second launch which rebuilds your sense of speed. This leads into a turning hill that is the highest point in the ride. You really just crest this with your speed, but it gives decent forces of motion going in and out. Then you swoop down past a few figures that will light up before another sharp overbank turn that leads into an S-hill, which, while simple, is really at the heart of the type of elements this coaster has. Next, you have an elongated turn around that leads into a straightaway, before the switch track sends you back around for a second lap. On ride, you can tell that you're going around, again, even in the dark, and the brief reprieve from the barrage of elements that this coaster throws at you is a really nice change of pace. Plus, just how cool is it that the switch track is letting you maximize the amount of coaster inside of this building. After a second lap through all of the elements, you come to a stop on the brake run, ending your ride on DarKoaster. Overall, how good is DarKoaster? This is a well-themed family coaster that uses its tight spacing to make some strong elements between its turns and mini-hills. The sense of speed is terrific in the dark, and it really feels like you've gone on a much bigger coaster when you get off. I really wouldn't be surprised to see this layout cloned, even if it was put outdoors, as this is the exact mixture of strength and size that parks should be looking for when adding an intimate straddle coaster for families. The long wait in line and lack of any extra special standout elements does hurt it in my rankings, but that doesn't take away from it being a truly excellent coaster for what it intends to be. I rank it right above Alpengeist, both at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and in my overall rankings. Alpengeist is my favorite B&M invert, with a truly powerful first half that will have you plastered into your seat. Still, these aren't my favorite coasters, as I prefer airtime over strong positive G's and inversions on roller coasters. I rank DarKoaster right below Speedy Mouse, which is my favorite coaster in Thailand. This unassuming coaster has phenomenal laterals coming down its helix, which always leaves me in amazement that a coaster this small can pack this big of a punch. Plus, there's just a special connection that I have to Dreamworld and Thailand as a whole. What are your thoughts on DarKoaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg? Do you feel like this is a terrific family coaster, or is it not really worth the wait? Let me know, and as always, Kapkun Krap.